Hello and welcome to the Capital Subcommittee of March 9th, 2023. I don't have the, in front of me, the agenda, but I remember that we wanted to talk about the CIP and the repair and maintenance budgets. What I'm hoping to do today, Mariah was kind enough to put together a possible letter that we'd like to send to the select board, I think it is, and whom else? I can't remember who else you addressed it to.
AC Capital and the town administrator and the deputy town administrator.
Right. So I want us to be able to go over that, and we may need to do a little bit of background for everybody first about what was approved in the CIP, what was approved for repair and maintenance, and then go through this letter. And I'm hoping to get that all done within an hour or less. And there'd be one other item. I have an update on the Heath School solar panels and solar panels in general from the select board meeting. So that's our agenda for today, unless somebody wants to add something else under new business.
We needed to do the minutes too, I thought.
Thank you. I'm glad you're reading the agenda.
I am.
And so we haven't had a meeting actually since November, unfortunately. And we do have minutes from that November meeting where Charlie came and presented to us. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Nancy. Seconded by Mariah. So Nancy, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mariah?
I vote yes, but I want to note that we had requests that came out of that meeting that we've never heard back, like from Charlie on. There were specific things that we asked for that we didn't ever hear back on.
Yeah. And he didn't send anything to me, right, to share? I don't remember. But I didn't share anything with you guys. Okay.
Not that I can remember, no.
I looked for it and I didn't see any emails from him either. So, but I thought maybe I had sent it with erased it or something. Okay, so we will note that we never got the responses that we had asked for. Okay.
Helen, how do you vote for the minutes?
And I vote yes. Thank you so much for keeping me honest here. So Mariah, since I am not at my desk and don't have access to that stuff, would you mind putting it up? And
yeah.
Talk our way through.
Do you want me to put? Do you want to put up the letter, or do you want to do? Should we talk through some of the background?
I think we should do the background first, because then it'll make it clear why we're putting what you're putting into the letter.
So I'm going to go back to, this was a while ago. I'm going to pull some stuff up because, Helen, do you want me to talk through a little bit of the evolution so that people remember all the details?
That would be very helpful if you don't.
So you all probably remember this document from the fall. Remember we talked about this was our submission and to the CIP back in, was this September maybe? I can't remember exactly. I don't have it. Yeah, it was in September. Yeah. And so this was the submission we had put together, and so in particular, there was the classroom leases, there was the Baldwin study. These were what we had voted for FY24. There was the furniture replacement. There was the deferred maintenance backlog, which Matt and the building principals, and I think Charlie as well, had done a huge amount of work to go update the complete list. And that's not here that I'm showing right now, but there was a huge amount of work to go and quantify all the different projects and where they were, and to parse them out across the 6 years of the capital plan to have that deferred maintenance happen. And then there was the long-term capital plan, which we had put in for last year, and it wasn't funded then. So this is what we had put in, along with, we'd mentioned.
And then along with where there's other things that are missing. Continue down.
There's not. This is it.
No?
Yeah. What did you think was missing?
These were the things that the school requested. Charlie,
never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, Baldwin was the second thing, right? So then I'm just going to go back and refresh everyone's memory one other place. Let me just pull up the document. Give me 1 second. So this made it into, we included this in our budget book, the version of the budget book that you've seen. And that same request is here presented, so you can see those same amounts. And then what happened, we've been waiting to hear on the CIP.
May I stop you for 1 second? Because
Yeah.
there are 4 orphans here, the playgrounds that are ostensibly under DPW because they maintain them, but their school playground, well, Lawrence is actually a town playground, but the other 3 are actually owned by the schools. And we still have not figured out how to manage getting those done.
Well, but
I
the
think we're
DPW put
starting,
them in. This was their request, was 28 and 29.
right, but I didn't see
we,
them in the 5-year plan.
well,
Or maybe
that's,
you did.
so this is what we had submitted though. And then on Monday at Town School Partnership, I asked for an update on the CIP because we still hadn't seen it, even though it usually comes out in December. And Melissa sent us a link, and this is minuscule. I'm going to try and zoom it in so you can see. The blue bar here is the FY24 allocation, and I'll show you the letter in a moment. But the short answer is that there's some key things that we had requested that are not funded in next year's CIP. And so Helen and I discussed sending a letter to request reconsideration.
And let's
so,
just be clear here, it looks like we're getting a huge amount of money, but they've included the Pierce School debt exclusion, which
Right.
really should be below the line because it's not part of the school's request for regular maintenance and upgrade monies that would come out of the CIP.
right,
So,
this is completely separate through the debt exclusion and through state funding. So here's a letter, and the summary right here, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. This is just a draft for consideration, but just so you can see, so we had about $4.25 million of requests that we had articulated. Of those, about just over 3 million were funded. Almost all of that is the classroom capacity BEEP leases. The Baldwin study is unfunded, which was $75,000 requested. The furniture, 200,000 was requested. We received 25,000. Deferred maintenance, we requested 1.698 million and we received 1 million. And the long-term capital plan was unfunded. Helen and I talked about them, and in particular, there's 2 that we are hoping that we had discussed about having asking for reconsideration. One is the deferred maintenance, and you all can read this. You know, we can go through it, and you can read it. And then the other one is the Baldwin study.
are there questions about what we're trying to accomplish here and the issues behind them? I think what's clear is that both the advisory committee, everybody has said that deferred maintenance, we have to start chipping away at that. And we really tried to do that here. So we're basically asking for another 700,000 in deferred maintenance and 75,000, so 775,000. What has been interesting is that, you know, the town had a quite a good year in terms of free cash this year. And last year was not, I mean, this CIP is based on the free cash from this year, correct? So it's not clear why these 2 items were shortchanged. I mean, it's not that we don't appreciate the classroom capacity. It's not that we don't appreciate, you know, well, that's basically what most of the monies are going towards. And just to be clear, too, we plan, next year is the last year of the lease at 2 Clark Road. We have informed them that we are not renewing. So that would be $1 million less on this, at least, of classroom capacity. And I think that, you know,
Which should be reflected, I think, in here.
Where's the line?
It's not here. Oh no, here it is down here. It's not.
Yeah.
There's another million. They have 2 million being carried next year.
Yeah, and that's way too much.
Okay.
Matt would know the exact number, but
I think
Are
it's
there
actually
any-
in the spreadsheet.
It
Or do
is.
people,
Or Nancy has her hand up.
okay, I can't see. Thank you. Nancy, please. Anybody who wants to talk, please just go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry, then I'll lower hand. If free cash is more plentiful this year, then what happened? Or is that what we're asking?
Well, that's another good question, how we got to so much free cash. But because free cash is made up of 3 different pots, some of it is the increased property values, some of it is increased revenues, and some of it is leftover money. And it's not clear, you know, how we could get to that amount of money just in 1 year, unless it's the Balfour money, but I think that came in this year, not last year. The one for the Fisher Hill, what's it called? The Fisher Hill assisted living that's going in.
Oh,
They paid $8 million, either this year or last year, I'm not sure, or next year.
If
And
it
it
was
may have
this
been
year or
for
next
this
year,
year.
then it's not in free cash because the free cash comes out of prior years.
I think it comes from last year's free cash.
Yeah, it comes like from certified prior
Right.
year cash.
Right.
I mean, I guess my thinking is like, yes, Nancy, I agree with your question too of like, well, why was it so big? But independent of why it's so big, that's almost like a little bit more frustrating, particularly for the deferred maintenance, which is such a need, and which if we don't, as BFAC made clear, if we don't do this work, it actually affects our ability for our other sort of capital needs in the town, right? If it does impact the bond rating and we're not maintaining.
And the other piece is the Baldwin money. If you look in the way that it's put into the CIP, it's out after 5 years. Well, you know, what are we going to do? This is our building. We don't want it to lay fallow and to, you know, have serious problems. It was a functioning space up until 2 years ago. And we need that money to do an evaluation of it to see how much it would cost us to renovate it and use it.
So Baldwin is all the way over here in future years at 975. It is not included at
And
all
we
in the
don't
next
even
6
know
years.
if that's the correct number even.
Right. But the 75,000 is the tip to the study, but the study
Right.
is not actually planned for any year.
Not so far.
Right.
Just as of note, the 9 million was a square footage cost to tear down and build new completely. We could probably renovate at a cheaper amount. It's just Charlie and I had never really settled on what would be a reasonable approach. So hence the
Well, that's
study
the
for what can
that's
we
the
do?
study. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we would never do a building like that, renovate it without doing a study to know what we're getting into.
And
Okay.
FY25 is $1,333,000 lower when you remove Clark Road. So back in September 14th or 15th, when we did this, we still were budgeting for Clark Road at that time, and now we're not.
So how much would we be using for classroom capacity for next year? For the year after, excuse me, for FY25?
So like
Instead
400
of-
and something instead of 1.9.
More like 600 and change.
How much did you say it was? You said it was one. What was the?
So the Clark Road rent and estimate for operations at Clark Road was $1,033,000. So you subtract that from 1,988,000.
$1,033,000, like 033.
1,333,000.
Okay. So 650 then ish,
Yeah.
655. Okay.
Wait a minute, so why is it 2 million this year?
No, 2 million is for this year, but for next year. The year
F-
after is the one we're talking about, where this is FY25 right here.
Okay,
Right,
so the
Yes.
volume up.
FY24, we're still under a lease agreement with Clark,
Right.
with Maimonides for Clark Road.
Right.
So the question is, I think does the subcommittee want to
What-
vote in favor of this letter to send it?
may I make another comment? So the select board is going to be looking at the CIP on Tuesday. The advisory committee, subcommittee of the capital subcommittee plans a meeting for Monday. That's part of the reason why we had this meeting today, so we could discuss it and be able to put forward something, at least from the finance and capital subcommittees, because we do have members from both here at this meeting. David, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts? I know this is all hitting you sort of, from left field, but if you don't,
Yes, just in terms of the two requests, you talk about one for deferred maintenance, for getting recuperating some of that additional money. I wasn't quite able to see the second one, just scrolling now, but I'm wondering whether we also want to request the Baldwin study money.
Oh, it's there.
That
Okay.
is the second one. It's just short.
All right.
We may want to say more about it, why it's critical.
Well, I think the other reason we might want to, right, we could potentially expand the explanation there, that it's not necessarily just for potential BEEP use, but also as office space potentially, because there is some concern from members of advisory committee and other circles that moving into Newbury as swing space for Pierce, that then what happens after that? Are we going to want Newbury for office space? And I'm trying to assuage those concerns by saying we really are just intending to use Newbury temporarily. But those are questions that will always crop up. And to the extent that Baldwin could be used as office space, perhaps we want to spell that out as part of the feasibility study.
So something like, well, I don't know, how would you suggest editing that bullet to convey that?
Well, why don't we just put it up higher in the first sentence? Needs a capital planning study to understand the possibilities and costs of this site for
Future usage
a
for
number of school department uses.
a number of school of
PSP.
Well, what's different?
uses That would allow us to vacate the leases that we have.
But
Oh,
how
yeah.
does that address the office question that David was talking about?
I'd be more specific about it, maybe having an EG and then list
Yeah,
office space, BEEP. Is there anything else that we
Well,
sometimes?
the possibility, if Baker were so overcrowded that we couldn't manage it within the school, possibly for kindergarten at Baker.
Okay,
Or other South
um,
Brookline / Chestnut Hill needs?
Yeah.
Okay.
that's good.
That's a good point, David. I'm glad you brought that up. And this is signed by you and me.
Right now, it just says, it's vague. It says school committee members representing the finance and capital subcommittees, but we could be specific as like,
the
people who are
chair-
here or. We have people here representing finance and capital.
Yeah, okay, we could leave that. That's fine.
Well, I
just-
think it's a little vague. I think at least capital should vote. We don't have a quorum of finance to vote it.
Yeah, why don't we have it come from me representing both capital, oh, no, me and you.
Right, the chairs of capital and finance, that works.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry we're doing this editing here at the table, but
Well,
I
that's-
think it's
Not much of it.
important.
Most of it is at least being done. Most of it was drafted in advance, so, okay. How does that, do we need to take a vote in that case?
Yeah, I would like to,
Yeah, okay.
because I'd like to feel that, is there any other additions, Matt? Do you see anything that comes out to you that,
No, but I think the advisory question is, I'm taking it as relatively straightforward based on the conversations past conversations in summary today. We rent space because BEEP doesn't fit and because offices don't fit. So that would be our, that would be our use for primary use for Baldwin and some office space at Newbury on
Mhm.
Fisher Ave, because if not, we're going to be fitting into our existing square footage, which is mostly built for classrooms, not for offices. So I would say the school department, and you can correct me, but I would say we do have some interest in some office space at Newbury.
Well, I think that part of that is it depends. It depends on the population and stuff, but right now I think there would be some space for offices both at Driscoll and in the future Pierce, but we need space, interim space. I think that would be more the issue. As long as we have Pierce there, I think we do. It gives us time to figure out how much actual office space we're going to need once in the next 3 years or so. And
Also, sorry, go ahead, Ellen.
from what I recollect walking through with Jamie, there were a number of offices at Newbury that we could coexist with our program.
And then Matt, is there a
Right.
particular reason why the office space would need to be at Newbury as opposed to Baldwin longer term?
Not really, no. But the benefit of Newbury is they have a lot of spaces designed as offices.
Mm,
Baldwin is sort of broken out into small classrooms. So they're different uses, different purposes. There's plenty of parking at Newbury. There's not much parking at Baldwin. Newbury is a little bit closer to the other schools, other things in town. The design for Driscoll and Pierce is a 4-section school with some offices added, but it's not enough for I'm going to call it the 36 people plus or minus that are over at curriculum coordinators and operations staff and some BEEP staff, which we are trying to work into the buildings as we start adding BEEP classrooms. We're starting to add BEEP offices, but these folks do need a home, and they're generally more office type folks than classroom type folks. I mean, right now I share an office with 3 other people. I'm a classroom with 3 other people. That's our office because we weren't changing the structure.
mm.
It can be stressful for some people to have to share an office when they want to have confidential conversations regarding students. So, I mean,
Well, it's
that's why
certainly
I note it.
Well, it's certainly a possibility that the town might ultimately decide that Newbury should be used for office space by a variety of departments. We just don't know yet which direction the town will move in. And so that's why I think at minimum, having the Baldwin feasibility study look into the potential for office use among others is an important contingency plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think, either way, even if it were used for a BEEP, there could be offices there. So it's, they're not mutually exclusive. Or even, I think the 3 years gives us some time framework. And I know it's not great to move people around. I don't like doing that. But on the other hand, at this point, I think in 3 years, we will know much better what our population is going forward than we know today. Okay, so any other comments?
Just one very, very small nitpicky one. Mariah, can you put the letter back up?
Yeah, and I made one little tweak in track changes because I thought we should make that. Go ahead.
Can we get rid of the word or edit out the word just and just, although 4 or 5
Where are you
requests
looking?
were not-
Okay.
Okay, 4 or 5 requests were not fully funded. We asked for reconsideration of 2 of these programs. I feel like just is apologetic. I don't think we're apologizing. I think we're just.
I didn't think of it as apologizing. I thought the point is we're not asking for funding for all 4.
Right.
It's just 2 of them that we're asking for.
It's nitpicky.
I'm fine with taking out just. I don't feel very strongly about it. The one thing I also thought was worth acknowledging is the fact is that last year the deferred maintenance was only funded $50,000 and $1 million is very impactful, even if it's not actually even what we had requested for this year. So I think it's nice to acknowledge and be appreciative of that funding was allocated.
Oh, yeah,
That's
Yeah,
a good catch. a
definitely.
good catch.
We haven't had $1 million go to that in the 7 years I've been here.
Yeah.
Good.
I think the best year was 250. A lot of times it's been closer to 100,000.
Yeah, so it is a big deal. It's just that it doesn't put the dent in it that we need to be having go into it. So, okay, so
And
are there,
just to be clear too,
Yeah.
part of the reason that we're asking for this is because of the 2 million extra in the CIP. I mean, we would have asked, I think, for probably Baldwin, no matter what, because it's small amount of money. But the extra deferred maintenance, if there's 2 million more, why not use that?
yeah.
Um,
And actually, we
Okay.
should probably write that right here, possibly from the $2 million that was not
Allocated.
allocated. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. One other thing I was thinking about is we wrote this to we don't name people here, and I'm thinking it might be better if it comes from I don't know, is it better if it comes from the individuals or if it comes clearly that it was a vote? Like this, the way it's written could imply that Helen
Yeah.
and I just wrote it ourselves, whereas it's clear that it was voted
Yeah,
by the
right, yeah,
subcommittee.
yeah, I
The
agree.
subcommittee, maybe we go down though. We could do that. Either put it up there in the title,
Yeah,
under regarding capital improvements plan, vote to or something. Either
How
you can put
about
it up where you
how
were going to
about
put it.
we could write the capital subcommittee, the school committee capital subcommittee met today to vote to request reconsideration, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Subcommittee.
Voted unanimously. Oh, we haven't
Yeah.
voted yet.
But we-
Sorry. That was not
Helen.
good. Sorry, guys.
No subtle hint there,
Don't
Helen.
listen to that.
Well, school committee capital, I can't type, hold on, sorry. Committee,
No, you did it right.
no, I missed a line, capital subcommittee, voted today to request reconsideration, your reconsideration of 2 of these programs, da, 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 da.
Right.
Okay, do we want to take a vote in terms of, should we take the vote and then
Yes,
finish the letter? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let me
And
take down the
also
letter
go
while
up,
we,
and I think the letter should go to the advisory committee too.
it had it to the capital. Do you want it to full advisory? It had select
No.
board, advisory committee, capital subcommittee. We could just have it go to
Okay.
advisory committee as a whole if you'd like. What do you
We-
prefer?
Well, it's only the capital subcommittee that's voting on it right now. So
Okay.
I think we should start with that, and then we
I
can
agree.
always resend it
Okay.
when the full.
And then do you want it to,
depending
well,
on
let's
the-
do our vote and then we can finish our wordsmithing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so
I move that we request reconsideration
And I
of 2
second, it.
items. Okay.
and send this letter to the.
Is that going to be the same vote or a separate vote?
Oh. I guess-
And send a letter to the select board advisory committee capital subcommittee as we have drafted, expressing the discussion and the result of the vote.
reconsideration, yeah.
Okay. Do I have a
Wait, is
second?
that a separate vote?
No,
I'm-
it's all one vote.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
I second it. Okay, so I'll take the vote. Nancy
I vote yes.
and Mariah,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, great. So we'll
Let's just pull it back up and finish.
pull it back up
So,
and
so who
say
is it
that-
coming from?
Oh.
Is it coming from the committee or from you? How do you want to do it, Helen? Or if it can be from both of us, that's fine, but
Yeah,
like,
and I think we have the school capital subcommittee
Yeah.
voted unanimously today. You need
Yep.
to just put in unanimously.
okay. Unanimously today, okay.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay.
So who's it coming from, though? Is it coming from the committee, from you as the chair, or from both of us?
I
It's
think it
fine.
comes from the both of us as
Okay.
chairs, and we've
Okay.
stated that, This letter was,
Okay,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It can be from both of you. I think
yeah,
that's
I think
fine.
that's fine.
okay.
All right. I'm trying to think if there was anything else in this. The one thing we should look at in the CIP are those playgrounds. Did you look for that, Mariah, by any chance in the DPW?
I can look in one
request?
second. One little comment is, to this point, the mini CIP was funded at a low level, like 50,000 last year. And I think it was unfunded a couple of years before that, but we should maybe say un/underfunded. I know it's a little nitpicky. I don't want someone
Yeah.
to say like, oh, we did fund it, like something like
Well,
that.
why don't we just state was funded last year for the first time at 50,000, for the first time in years at 50,000 and has been unfunded prior to that. No?
I don't know. We didn't go back and look at the whole history. I know Matt just said some of it, but I don't remember how many. I don't think it was funded in FY 20 or 21.
No.
Yep.
And it wasn't funded in 22 or 23 or 23. It was funded at 50. I don't think it was funded in 22 either. No, 20 it was funded. 21 and 22 it wasn't. I
All
believe.
right. Has been underfunded. Why don't we just put underfunded? Let's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much and it's
Yeah.
not that critical.
No. Okay. I mean, it's definitely been underfunded.
Yeah, that nobody's going to argue with.
Okay. You wanted to look to see where the playgrounds were. Let me pull it up and we can,
Yeah, if we
I will
could.
find it for you. Yeah.
They're in future years.
So parks and playgrounds. So one of them is New Lincoln and it's in there in 3 million,
And they're all
as
out in
Matt
future
said,
years.
all out in future years.
Okay, that's a problem that we need to tackle, but I'm not sure we can tackle it this year. Just to put a pinpoint in that, because they're sort of like orphans. DPW doesn't want to use their money from the CIP to fund it. And we don't have any money really in the CIP anyway to fund it. So they, the playgrounds go on and on.
Are
Well,
any
I
of
mean,
them
I
falling
do
apart?
I
Are any
do
of them
think
really
that
bad?
Erin didn't, I don't say that Erin, I mean, she was the one who submitted them. It seemed like it's not that she doesn't want them to be done. She did submit them for consideration.
They
How
did
many
do
years-
the Pierce Playground in, was it 2016?
Right,
Something
but
like
that's
that.
a town playground. And if I had to guess, they'll probably do the Lawrence next. The problem comes in with most of our playgrounds get renovated when we do a building. So
Mhm.
the ones that are left would be Baker, which would probably be done during the Baker renovation, I imagine. They wouldn't put money. It was done in 97 when we did the last renovation there. Or I think it was 97. Do you remember, David, when that renovation happened at Baker? I know it was done. I just don't remember what the year.
I don't think that it's necessarily, I mean, Erin did come to us. She was the one who put together the proposal. And
Okay, then
I
next
just
year,
don't, I felt like,
we'll do it again next year. We'll talk with her, make sure that everything is safe and okay. And I do know that they maintain the structures that are there.
They
Yeah.
do, and they have a consultant come in every 2 or 3 years to reevaluate, what needs to be replaced.
Okay, I'm bringing it up because I wanted to go on people's radar that,
Yeah.
At some point we need to talk about this. Okay, is there anything else from the R&M budget or the CIP? The CIP we've discussed. The R&M,
the only thing I would mention is that we did make those requests for clarification that we haven't met. So maybe that was part of it, but it's an opportunity to get clarity.
so yeah, one of the things, okay, maybe you could pull up the R&M budget.
The slides?
Well, no, I
Which-
guess that they're not there. Never mind.
Ellen, just quickly to answer your question, the Baker Playground was last renovated in 1999. And again, a little more in 2000, so 99 to 2000, and the tennis courts resurfaced in 2004.
Right. Okay.
I'm
And they're
impressed,
doing-
David. Do you keep that on your phone or did you look that up somewhere?
Seriously.
I was able to look it up.
He has
Oh,
it
that's
tattooed on his
helpful.
arm. He like looked, he's like, okay. It's like on his
So it
hand
was
to
at least
take
in
notes.
this century it was done. No, I do remember them being done, and they were done pretty well at that time. So I think that's, it does make sense to wait. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw something either in Parks and Rec or in the town side about the tennis courts being resurfaced again and the access to the school being redone. Partially paid for. I think they got a grant from the developer there to pay for that. Something, the select board, that's where I saw it, on the select board's calendar. They got like
That
200
said, can we get grants to pay for this?
for
Pay for what?
The playground renovations.
No,
Good
usually.
luck.
Yeah.
This
Thanks,
is like
Ryan.
millions and millions of dollars as opposed to like a pavement surfacing, which is like $20,000 or something.
Nancy, there
Yeah.
have been parents who have given money. For instance, the Cypress Field Playground, there were some parents who gave $10,000 for the structures over there in Beep. There were parents who had
Mhm.
been at Beep. So sometimes there are sort of individual grants, usually for play structure, and usually from grateful parents who,
If we got a big bunch of money to redo the playgrounds, is that?
I think we would
There's
accept it.
policies again, there's policies about large gifts that benefit specific schools. So we
Oh,
would need to
okay.
get into that, which,
It would have to be an equitable thing, and it would
Yeah,
have to be
exactly.
a school that hadn't
Like
had it.
$5
For
million
instance-
to be spread across 4 playgrounds, or could it be?
well, I
something
guess
like
the thing
that?
is, it's what Helen said about considerations of equity. Is it bringing one school way ahead of other schools, or is it one school that is lagging that this funds would actually support them becoming equitable? So, it's anyways, I think that it would be a good problem to have, and feel free to go find someone who wants to donate $2 million, and then we can talk about the policy.
But what was that number again? What was that number again that we needed to
Oh,
fund?
now,
all the-
what they estimate is 3 million per playground.
Oh, per playground.
Yeah,
And there's 4 playgrounds that need to be renovated.
one
So
is
they're not
3,
associated with
2
the
or
school
3,
renovation.
one is 3.7, and one is 4. So
And probably
Lawrence is
the
4,
Baker
Baker's
School.
3, Baker's 3.7, and New Lincoln and Heath are both 3 because they're a little smaller, I believe.
Okay, so somewhere in the neighborhood of $10-15 million. Okay. Okay,
All right.
that's all. Is that all?
At some
All
point,
right.
the Community Preservation Act, we might get
Right.
funds.
That's right. That can be used for that. So,
Okay, that's another discussion. Sorry. to
Helen,
move-
do you want to talk about the Heath solar panels? That was
Yes,
on
I
your
do.
mention of
That was
things
on my
to-
that's the new business, which is sort of old business too. It's both. Because we had approved the Heath contract for solar panels. I had noticed that there was on the select board's agenda on Tuesday, the solar panels, the Heath solar panels, and whether to put a warrant article in for town meeting. And apparently I spoke with Charlie Young, I think it is, or Charles Young, I think it's Charlie, about that. And he said and I asked him what happened at the select board meeting. And the select board decided to wait on that contract and do a real study of owning solar panels versus leasing our roofs and getting some of the benefit for it. By owning it, we obviously get all the benefit, but we have all the responsibility of the care and maintenance. And what we really need is a detailed analysis of the costs and the cost benefits of owning versus leasing. Should some buildings continue to be leased like they are presently? We have leases right now at Runkle, Ridley, the high school, and the high school. I thought there was one more, but I may be wrong. Heath was one that was supposed to be done in that same contract. In the end, it wasn't done because the Heath School roof needed to be repaired. And so they put it off. And by the time they were ready to go back to that contract, it had expired. So that's where the conversation came up. I agree with the select people that we should do this analysis and include in that, and this is what I said to Charlie, who agreed also, to include owning them at Driscoll and at Pierce. In the Pierce School project, we've included photovoltaics, the actual panels. Both Driscoll and Pierce have the infrastructure to support the panels, but neither have the panels in the project. In Driscoll, it would be if there was money left in the contingency, would it be a smart economical decision to own those? At Pierce, we put it in as an ad alternate in the project so that it would go out to bid with the whole project, and we would have the number and could accept it depending on how the bids came in. If the bids came in low, we could accept that piece. We only have that one thing as an ad alternate. The other part of all of this is the maintenance. And if you don't maintain it, it goes away. Just a bit of history. We did have solar panels over the pool in 1974. I think we put them up there, or maybe a little bit after that. And they worked for a number of years, and then they weren't maintained. And that was the end of it. So I think what needs to happen in this assessment is, can the savings from the photovoltaics pay for the maintenance? Because obviously there's no money in the budget for more maintenance. And how long would it take for that to happen? You know, to see those savings, would it be in the first year? You know, how does that work? So that's sort of my update on the Heath School photovoltaics, and in general, where the town, and I understand from Charlie, the select people want to go. And I support that. I think it's a smart decision. Any questions about that?
So there's no action, right, for us to take?
No, this was information. This was information. I don't think there's anything to do till they do this study, and then we see what comes out of that. Matt, do you have any old or new business that you need to bring up with us?
Yep, two things. Have a donation. I will summarize it for finance for some benches from Chestnut Hill Realty down at the Baker School for the playground area, as well as I think some picnic tables to sort of enhance the area a little bit. That was something that was worked on with the PTO and the principal. I just have to send the stuff over to you guys. I just haven't had a chance to summarize it and write it up. And then the other thing was
And the donation is from whom and for how much?
Chestnut Hill Realty. It is for about $10,000.
Matt, can you try and get it to Donna tomorrow, because we're meeting next Wednesday?
Yep.
Thank you.
No, I have it in front of me today. I just hadn't gotten to it yet.
Matt, $10,000 of equipment or $10,000 in money to buy equipment?
No, they're going to buy the equipment and have it installed. And
Oh.
we went over it with the Parks Department, who could maintain it, and it's you know, sort of the right level of stuff that the town already has. They're certainly making an effort to be good neighbors, to try to work with us on some of this.
Preschool and they're build us a space for preschool.
And a whole school while they're at it. That would make great.
No, not a
neighbors.
whole school. I just want a preschool. there.
Nancy's got a $2 million playground, or $4 million
No, I want them to
playground to
renovate the
talk
Baker
about.
School. I want them.
No, I know,
I
but-
want them to pay for the renovation of the Baker School. That's what I want. But that I want.
Anything else, Matt?
Well, and then the photovoltaics for the Driscoll School. If we're going the PPA route, you know, there isn't really a design cost that's all sort of rolled into the turnkey solution. If we're going to buy it, we'd have to hire an engineer, and Tony and I have talked about it. Just we're sort of at capacity at the moment. We'd want to wait till we were further along in the project, whether it was when we were just doing the grounds in the winter or spring, or even, post that at the end, but it looks like there'll be some money left in the project to add solar panels. It's just, again, which way do you want to do it? The PPA route, or do you want to own it?
And that's why I asked that to be considered in the financial
Right.
evaluation.
So
but-
I'm
but-
glad you brought that up, but I do listen and do get the requests from folks, what are you doing and when are you
And
gonna
I
do
think
it? So,
it's moving forward at the town's pace, but I tried to get a sense of how much would this study cost? If it's under 50,000, they could put it out to bid to 3 different consultants. So
Is
he
there
was
any
going
way
to
to-
check that out. Huh?
Is there any way to take advantage of an old study to answer this question? Surely there's a million studies out there about whether or
No,
not to
you have
rent,
to
to
look at
lease
your
or
own
own.
situation. You have to look at how much it would take in. It's complicated.
Okay.
And I think there's some of the engineers have certainly done some of that, but I think a consultant would be a good idea for all of these. Yeah. And I'm hoping it's under 50,000. Okay, Matt, did you say you had a couple? That's it?
those were the 2.
Oh, okay. All right. Anybody else have anything else?
I just have a question. I have on my calendar that we're meeting next Tuesday. Is this
No.
meeting instead of that? Okay, so I can take that off the
Yes,
calendar.
this is canceled. We won't, because there's nothing to vote on if something comes back and we need to vote on it or something, I may call for a special meeting, but otherwise we'll meet at our regular time.
Okay, and then my other question is, I'm gonna send the PDF of what we sent to you and Betsy, and then do you want Betsy to distribute it to the 2s on your behalf, or are you gonna
Yes.
send it directly? Okay,
No,
So
I
I'll
think they should do it on behalf of us. There's no problem with that.
okay.
Um,
Betsy, is that good with you to get it out pretty quickly since it's so time sensitive with their meetings coming up early next week?
Absolutely. I get it
Thank
done
you.
first thing in the morning.
Okay, I'll send it right after this, so
Okay.
thanks.
Okay. Hey, we might get up in less than an hour. That'd be really amazing.
What?
I don't think there's anything else. The projects are moving along. Everything seems to be okay. I think that's it. Okay,
Okay,
Aces.
thank you all. Thank you
Thanks,
for being
everybody.
flexible and having the meeting today. Thank you, Mariah, for all your help.
Always.
thanks, everybody. See you
Have a
later.
good weekend, everyone.
Bye.